It's time for the One Bar and Lupica Show, bringing you anything and everything Minnesota Vikings.
Welcome to professional football.
Hey, it's Lupica here from the One Bar and Lupica Show. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our channel, like our vids. Right, so the draft is just a few days away. As you can see, I'm sitting here in my quarantine gear, my robe, my hat. It's almost noon. I haven't gotten dressed yet. But one thing I want to everyone to be ready for when the draft comes around is for the Vikings to take a defensive tackle much earlier than you might think. Be prepared for the Vikings, either one of the first or their second round selection to be a defensive tackle. I want to talk about that briefly here. First of all, Mike Zimmer's defense is all about creating pressure up front, not just with the ends, but on the interior. And right now, the Vikings really don't have that three technique pass rushing defensive tackle. I mean, Armon Watts did have a good year last year. He showed plenty of potential, but they didn't even play him until halfway through the season. I think he had like 1.5 sacks, maybe 11 tackles or so. But he did have a kind of a nose for the ball, made some plays. So he's got some potential. But after him, there's really nobody. Jalen Holmes, I don't think he's making the team next year. He hasn't really taken on that role as many figured he would when he was a fourth-round pick a couple years ago. Then you got Hercules Madafa, who did put on some weight and had a great preseason last year, but when the games mattered, he absolutely disappeared. So the Vikings need to find that position. And when everybody's talking about their needs this year, they're talking wide receiver, cornerback, offensive tackle. Defensive tackle kind of gets pushed down the line a little bit, but I'm thinking for the Vikings, it's they see it as a much bigger need than the average fan does or the average draft guru does. So if they're going to go that route in round one, I really think the only option they would do would be to move up and get Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina. This guy's just a beast. 6'6", he's like 325 pounds. He's just a wild man. I mean, right now he's kind of raw. He's just out there. He's wild, but he needs to be refined. You get a guy like Andre Patterson coaching him and teaching him some technique, teaching him proper hand placement, how to use his hands, some pass rushing moves. He would be absolutely unstoppable. Plug him next to the juggernaut Michael Pierce, and you got Hunter and Odenigbo on the ends. And I think there'd be loads and loads of pressure that Mike Zimmer would love up front. Make things easier for the linebackers, make things easier for your young secondary, that no matter what the Vikings do at this point, their group of cornerbacks are going to be very young and very inexperienced. So the more pressure you can create up front would help those guys out on the back end. Again, that's the only way I think it happens in round one. I mean, there's a possibility Ross Blacklock would fall or would be there. I mean, he should be there. Neville Gallimore should be there, but I don't think either one of those guys is worth a first-round pick unless the Vikings move back and took them. I think those guys are more round two options. Blacklock makes a lot of sense. He's got the size. He's mean. He's physical, and he's actually pretty quick for being so big. Gallimore, he's kind of got more of a body as a nose tackle or a run stuffer. But he did show at the Senior Bowl that he can create that interior pressure. One-on-one drills, he was blown by guys, getting the quarterback. So the more teams look at him, I think the more they see him as potentially being a three technique. So he's definitely going to be on the Vikings' radar. And in the second round, there's three other guys that the Vikings should have interest in. It's Raekwon Davis from Alabama. Huge guy, beast. He had an amazing sophomore season. He's really pretty much just gone to sleep since then. But he's got loads of raw potential that just needs to be coached up. He needs to be motivated. He's got motivation issues. I think he's got overall stamina issues. He tends to fade as games go on. So there's question marks that could definitely send him to pick 58 for the Vikings. I think he'd make a lot of sense. You take this guy, you coach him up for a year, and then you unleash him in year two. I think you have something special there. Another guy is Justin Madubuike. Kind of weird looking guy when you watch him on the field. Doesn't really have much of a neck, but he's powerful, he's strong, he can get low. I think he's definitely a guy who can create that interior pressure the Vikings are looking for. And the last guy is Marlon Davidson from Auburn. He was kind of under the radar playing next to Derek Brown, but he's quick out the snap, uses his hands well. He can get low, he can get by some blockers, he can take on double teams. So I think there's realistically 5 options the Vikings could look for in round two. And if I'm putting money on it right now, I would say chances are they do take a defensive tackle in the second round. That's where the best value is going to be. If they wait, they may not be able to find somebody who can help them out later, at least not in year one. And I think they want to find an impact kind of a player here. Again, you create that pressure up front, makes things easier for your young group of corners. So be prepared to hear the Vikings take a defensive tackle much earlier than you might expect. So that I do think that's going to happen. this probably this Friday night, and you can call that Lupagus guarantee. So again, subscribe to our channel, the One Bar and Lupagus Show, and we'll be coming at you much more this week with plenty of draft-related content.